Hey guys, welcome to the Daily Word Bible Study of Plain and Simple, book by book, chapter by chapter, and verse by verse study through the entire Bible. Currently, we are in Isaiah 65, and we're talking about the new heavens and the new earth that God has promised, that God has prophesied, revealed that He is going to create. So, the last couple of studies, I've kind of been sort of just kind of unpacking that because I think it's important for us to kind of. This is one of the things I'm going to slow down, do a slow crawl through this because I think it is important what is coming our way. What what hope. And I think this is the whole purpose of God giving us this so that we can have hope. And the hope is that if you think about is there all it wait a minute, if is all our existence just between birth and death. So however long that is, right? Our average lifespan, let's say, is anywhere from 70 to 100. And of course, that's not, there's people dying at all age for all different reasons. But if you just say natural causes, right? Just natural causes. If you live if you didn't have any other kind of external forces coming against you that ends your life prematurely, 70 to 100, right? That's pretty much it. And if you stop and you think about it, that's all we have, right? In other words, if that's all we have, again, as Paul says, we of all men are most miserable. If you think that just, your existence ends at death. Well, God gives us hope. There's a lot of things in terms of eternity that God gives us. One, being the sons of God, being in the family of God, being members of the household of God, with the Spirit of God crying in our hearts, Abba, Father, with the rest of our salvation promise coming with the glorification of our bodies. So just that, think about that. We're gonna have we're sons of God crying, Abba, Father. Okay, just that is wow. So then think about how we then will enjoy eternity with our Father in His kingdom. And so now He's going to create a new heavens and a new earth. All right, so to me, our hope is spectacular. Okay. All right, so let's go back to Isaiah chapter 65. Last couple of, again, sessions, I've been unpacking some things, some thoughts about this. In verse 17, he says, for I will create a new heavens and a new earth. The past events will not be remembered or come to mind. So, what is this new heavens and this new earth? Okay. Now, the when he says here, the past events will not be remembered or come to mind. If you think about something, even sometimes the glory of one thing always kind of outshines the other, and that's kind of what it is mean right here. That does he mean our memories will be wiped clean, that we won't even remember who we were or what we were? I don't think that's what's being communicated here, because I think we're always going to remember what Jesus did for us. For example, the Bible tells us that He's always going to have the wounds, the nail prints, right, in His hands, right? So if when you think about when He was here, right, when he first came back and He had Thomas stick his hands in nails, right? So now, if our memories are wiped clean, right, eons into the past, we may go, "Oh, Jesus, what what's with the holes or the print, the prints right here? What's with that?" Right? So I don't think what he means is that our memories are going to be wiped clean, but that living in the glory of the new. So like now I can think about the hard times that I went through, usually of my own doing. But the glory of the new outshines that. I don't think about those times. So I think it's going to even be more of an impact. The glory of the new is going to be more of an impact. So that's why it says the past events will not be remembered or come to mind. And then in verse 18, then be glad and rejoice forever for what I am creating. For I will create Jerusalem to be a joy and its people to be a delight. Now, right here, the couple of things that could be happening here. There could be a kind of a shift in thought. And the reason why I say that is because during the millennial reign of Christ, you see again one of the focuses on the New Jerusalem. The millennial reign of Christ and then life during that time. So what we're going to read kind of going forward seems to describe more the millennial reign than what it will be like in the new city Jerusalem. And I'll get to that later. I'm going to get to that. So let me read that. But I think it seemed to be to me right here, we kind of have a shift back to the millennial reign. In other words, he makes a statement and then he goes back and then verse 18, then be glad and rejoice forever for what I am creating. For I will create Jerusalem to be a joy and its people to be a delight. Verse 19, I will rejoice in Jerusalem and be glad in my people. Now, right here, when he says my people, he's referring to Israel. He's talking about the 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 nation of Israel. Notice this: he's talking about the city of Jerusalem, and then my people Israel. So, verse 19 again: I will rejoice in Jerusalem and be glad in my people. The sound of weeping and crying will no longer be heard in her. In her, a nursing infant will no longer live only a few days, or an old man not live out his days. Indeed, a youth will die at 100 years, right? A youth will die at 100 years, and the one who misses 100 years will be cursed. Now, what is he referring to here? This is why I said I think he kind of there's a shift in thought in that he's referring to the 1,000 years, because what follows 1,000 years will be the new heavens and the new earth. Now, the reason why I say that is because in the new heavens and the new earth, there will be no death. There will be no, actually, there will not even be any light. This describes more of what goes on during the millennial reign, okay, than what goes on after the creation of the new heavens and the new earth. But notice what he says right here. So, in other words, a person who 100, just living 100 years, a person would be considered young. Now, kind of interesting, in Jewish customs, you really wasn't considered grown until you was 30. In other words, and actually, to be even more truthful, to be more of what's considered a mature man was hitting around 50, right? So that's why, for example, like when Jesus came of, you could say, of age, he was 30, okay? So 100, think about this, 100 you considered a babe. So he's talking about here the kind of, I think here he's referring to the millennial reign. But he's also contrasting all of the difficulties of Israel for all of these 1,000 years. This is what they have to compare it with. If I may even throw into what is going on currently with the war between Hamas and Israel, and I'm not Israel. Okay, I'm just kind of giving you an example here. Think about now that situation going on right now, and then look, and then when you think about this promise here. Now the sad thing is they don't realize this promise. They don't really kind of the nation of Israel don't live in this promise. But he says, in her, a nursing infant will no longer live only a few days, nor an old man not live out his days. So, in other words, will there be death in the millennial reign? I'm going to say certainly there could be death in the millennial reign, but not in the new heavens and the new earth. He says, indeed, the youth will die at 100 years, and the one who misses 100 years will be cursed. Verse 21, people will build houses and live in them. They will plant vineyards and eat their fruit. They will not build and others live in them. They will not plant and others eat. For my people's lives will be like a lifetime of a tree. My chosen ones will fully enjoy the work of their hands. They will not labor without success or bear children destined for disaster, for they will be a people blessed by the Lord along with their descendants. So the word blessed means to be happy. Kind of interesting. Whenever you see this word blessed, it means to be happy. It means to the result or to be in a state of happiness or something that makes you happy. So when people say, I'm blessed and highly favored, is a slogan to them, but what God means by it is that there is, in other words, when we say that we're blessed of the Lord, then we're, God has done something. The result is we are in a state of contentment and happiness. Okay? So this here, what God will do is he will bless his people. And so all of the blessings that he's talking about, that they'll be able to enjoy their life, enjoy their land, enjoy the fruits of their labor. They were not, okay? Verse 24, even before they call, I will answer. While they are still speaking, I will hear. Right? The wolf and the lamb will feed together, and the lion will eat straw like an ox. But a serpent's food will be dust. They will not do what is evil or destroy on my entire holy mountain, says the Lord. Um, there's a couple of things here that caught my thought, my attention here. When they kind of go back when he says there be a people blessed of the Lord, and then he says before they answer I will call. I say that because a lot of people use verse 24 as a promise before they answer. He said before they call I will answer, while they're still speaking I will hear. Now keep this in mind that this is the context of this is in the setting, okay, in the setting of the millennial reign of Christ. Notice he says the wolf and the lamb will feed together. So even during this time right here, notice they would eat straw like an ox, which is kind of interesting. They won't be carnivores like they are now. Um, Notice he said they would eat straw like an ox, so they don't need to feed upon meat. And then he says they will not destroy what is evil. They will not do what is evil or destroy my entire holy mountain. That's going to be a wonderful time. Think about this: that you won't fear animals. So again, to me, this is doing the millennial reign. What is interesting here, and this I want you to see this. What is interesting here is that, but in verse 25, the but in verse 25 says, but the serpent's food will be dust. That would kind of caught my attention because think about this now. Out of all of the animals that will kind of would go under a change, he said still that the serpent's food would be dust. And you kind of go back, I can't help but wonder if you go all the way back into Genesis chapter 3, that the serpent at that time, remember, now some people say, well, I just want to kind of throw this out there. There's people that kind of say, well, you believe in a talking snake, and they kind of mock that at the biblical story, which I think is kind of silly themselves because one, why when you think about when you think about the times and the story as it transpired, why wouldn't there be? By the way, we have evidence that the possibility of talking animals, most notable a parrot, right? So most notable a parrot, they talk, right? They not only do they talk, right, but they're not just they utter words. So if you kind of go back to the before Adam sinned, and again remember we only have a glimpse of what's going on, so we don't have um, all of the information, but life was better, life was good. You remember in Genesis that after every stage of creation, God said, "It is good." So what the serpent was and what he became, right? We don't we kind of have a glimpse that he was a very cunning animal that can talk. So at this point, that's the glimpse right here. Could he think that did he have some kind of intelligence? Again, we don't know. Or was he just used by Satan and then his voice used? The fact that the Bible says that the serpent was cunning, meaning that he probably was more intelligent. And we see animals right now. Like I can watch a raccoon and think to myself, they're very wise. Like if you try to trap a raccoon once, you only get one shot at it. And if he gets out, you never go back to that trap. Not that way. His intelligence is speaking in. Right. So my point is that what's the the curse changed everything. So same thing. No telling what kind of creature the serpent was. The fact that it crawled on its belly, remember, was the result of the curse. What was it before? And yet we still even see kind of like after all this here, he's still gonna like still be kind of the lowest of the animals. You know, you know. Let me read one more thing before we close out, and I want to read. This is Revelations chapter 21, and he says here, "And I saw new heavens and a new earth, for the first heavens and the first earth had passed away, and the sea no longer existed. I also saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared like a bride adorned for her husband. Then I heard a loud voice from the throne. Look, God dwelling is with humanity, and he will live with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. Death will no longer exist. Grief, crying, pain will exist no longer because the previous things have passed away." I just want to kind of read that. I'll probably come back and do this in the next study as well. But I want to contrast, of course, what is specifically talked about in terms of the new heavens and the new earth. Excuse me. That the new heavens and the new earth is, again, notice here, no death will exist. And so when we kind of do our verse here, you remember that the idea that death is even talked about here. That the possibility that a person, if they die at 100, right? If they die at 100, they're considered, oh my God, he died so young. Oh, he died so young, so young. So anyway, I'll kind of explore this a little more in the next study, guys. Don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you ever thought a comment, add it to the comment section below. All comments are welcome. I'll see you in the next video.